Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Shutterbug Club podcast. I'm your host, Sue Shutterbug, and today's episode is extra special because I have an incredible guest joining us today. She is an influencer, an entrepreneur, a world traveler, collaborating with hotels and destinations all over the world. She is now a published author. She owns her own clothing line. Honestly, what doesn't she do? She's truly an inspiration. So I'm so excited to introduce Giovanna Silvestre. Did I say that right?
Silvestre, you got it, girl.
Silvestre.
You got it.
Okay.
Well, I'm not a plumber, so that's something that I...
Okay. Love that.
There's a few things I wish I was, though, and a plumber would be one of those. Because if you're a plumber, plumbers are so expensive.
So true. It would be handy.
I'm like, I need to learn that trade next, so I don't need to call these guys and have to pay like $200 to come out.
Next business. Okay.
Next business idea. Confused girl plumbers.
Yeah, I love that. Before we really get into this episode, I actually want to share my story of how I met Giovanna, because for me, this moment was truly impactful. It shifted my mindset, and it's just left a lasting impression on me that I have never forgot. So, I have had the pleasure of meeting Giovanna and working with her in person. And how that happened is I was still pretty new to photography, maybe like 2 or 3 years. And so I was still figuring everything out, and I had a lot of struggles and stuff. But Giovanna reached out to me on Instagram, and she was staying at the resort in Telluride, Colorado, which is pretty close to me. And she was doing a collaboration with the resort. So she was staying there in exchange for like content, posting on social media, all of that stuff. And she needed a photographer for the day. And so she reached out to me and wanted my help on the project. And first of all, I was so excited. This blew my mind. Like, I had never done anything like this. And she had a lot of followers on Instagram. So I was like intimidated. I was like, why does she want to work with me? And so right away I ran to my husband and I was like, look who just reached out to me. Like, this looks so cool. I'm so excited. And of course, his first thoughts were, well, you better make sure this isn't a scam. He's always like trying to keep me safe. But I just had this feeling. I knew that this was something I needed to do, and that this was going to be an opportunity that I just really needed. So I went to Telluride early in the morning. We spent the whole day together, and I was feeling really nervous but excited on the drive there. But the second I met Giovanna in her hotel room, she right away just welcomed me with this warmth and openness that just made me feel very special and really at peace when I first met her. And so we spent the whole day together taking pictures and skiing. And throughout the day, we both kind of opened up about some struggles and our dreams. And we had this instant connection. And this was crazy to me because we were both strangers. Like, we had met that morning, but I just felt such a connection to her. And I opened up to her a lot about my struggles with photography, in being in my early 20s and feeling kind of lost and struggling with shyness and just with talking to people. And little did I know that she had this incredible journey of self-discovery. And she shared this journey with me. And the thing that really stood out to me the most was her mindset. Giovanna approaches life with this fearless, determined, like, she just makes amazing connections everywhere she goes and gets incredible opportunities that she just takes. And so this trip has honestly left such a lasting impression on me. And I think about it to this day. When I'm feeling kind of lost or struggling, I'm not kidding, I will think back, like, what would Giovanna do? Because your mindset and the way that you approach things is just so different than anything that I have ever thought about. And you can tell by the way people are drawn to you. I've noticed it in the small amount of time that I've hung out with her. I've noticed the impact she has on everyone around her. So I knew that I had to have her on my podcast. So welcome to the podcast, Giovanna.
Oh my God, I love you. That was so sweet. That was so sweet. Thank you so much for that introduction. And I know that trip was so that was so healing for the both of us. Because my father just passed away too, and it was such a beautiful, we had such a beautiful day together in Telluride, and it was amazing. And thank you.
It was. We both cried together, laughed together.
Oh, really? We like hit all the emotions. And then we did it again a year later. We went to Aspen.
Hmm.
That was just wild and fun.
Yeah, that was so amazing. So, why don't you start by just slightly introducing yourself? I want to know like where you're from and where you're currently living, and then maybe just some fun facts about yourself.
Okay, so I grew up in San Luis Obispo, which I live in Los Angeles now. I live in a cute little beach community, and I'm safe from the fires.
Oh,
Thank
good.
God. Thank God. Yeah, no fires around. Well, like Palisades is like 10 miles from me, so it's kind of crazy that mass devastation is happening 10 miles away. But I myself am safe and very grateful for that. And I've been in LA for, oh my gosh, over a decade now. And some fun facts about me. Okay, well, I worked in the entertainment industry. I worked on a very large production. I kind of want to keep the names a little on the down low because I actually write
Okay.
I write about this in my book. But I worked with like a lot of celebrities. I worked in Hollywood in my early 20s. And my parents also, they owned an Italian restaurant 3 hours north of here where I grew up. And I grew up in the restaurant, and I thought I was going to take that over as well. And once I was done with the entertainment industry and I didn't want to do that anymore, I thought I would move back home and take over my parents' business, which I didn't end up doing, as you can see. And what's another fun fact about me? I did promote clubs in Hollywood when I was in college.
That's fun. Was that like your first kind of entrepreneurial thing?
Mhm. Yes. Outside of the restaurant, yes. That was like, I didn't want to be in a sorority, but I still wanted to do something cool and meet new people. And
Hmm.
so I started promoting clubs in Hollywood. And that's actually, I'm part of an era where we actually did go to clubs. And, right? 'Cause, like, people now in their 20s, they don't really club. That's not a real thing, right?
I mean, I live in a very small town, so if I wanted to go, there's not really anywhere to go. I don't know about in bigger cities if people go to clubs, but I feel like not as much, definitely.
Not as much. Yeah, definitely not as much.
Can you tell us a little bit about your book that you just wrote?
Yes. So it's called Confused Girl, Find Your Peace in the Chaos. And I started this whole project like 6 years ago. And I said to myself, I want to leave the country. I want to travel. I want to live in different places. I want to travel the world by myself and write this book. And I also wanted to only write when I felt inspired to write. I didn't want to push myself to write when I wasn't feeling it. I wanted everything I did with this book to be inspired. So I did that so I wrote the book. I lived in Indonesia for a year. Then I lived in Berlin for a year. And I finished the book, came back, got an agent, a really good literary agent. Then I was rejected for 2 years by publishing companies. And but what was really cool about this is that because of the work that I did in my 20s, to all of this the self-help work, really working on my self-worth issues because I had a lot of self-worth issues and I didn't feel worthy. So having worked on that and not wanting my self-worth to be attached to anything outside of myself, I was able to go through the 2 years of just being rejected by publishers, and it didn't affect how I thought about myself. I still
Wow.
feel like I'm good. I'm happy. I'm doing amazing. I'm a good person. It's all good. So, and I think that's really important because usually where the depression and the anxiety and all of this stuff stems from is self worth issues,
Mhm.
what you're attaching your self worth to. And so I wanted to just feel good just because I'm a child of God. I'm here on earth. I felt like
Mhm.
I deserved to feel good about myself and have a good amount of self worth. And so, yes, went through 2 years of rejection, didn't let it get me down. I was just kept on going. And then this was divine timing. 2 months before my father passed away, two publishing companies had a bidding war on my book. And so I signed a book deal and now it's coming out.
Wow. That's so cool. The way that timing just works with everything.
Oh, it's so crazy. It's so crazy, Sue. It's one of those things where it really I wanted to trust the timing of my life, and I was trusting the timing of my life, but I was also thinking in the back of my head, maybe I shouldn't trust. You know those doubts creep in.
Yeah.
And after this, I am such a believer and things happen in the right time. If you try to mess with it and you try to push too much and force it too much, you could destroy it. You could have destroyed the amazing thing that's coming for you at the
That
perfect time.
That's such a good lesson because I feel like, especially being in your 20s, like I am right now, a lot of us feel like we need to get everything done right now. Like, I feel like everything has to happen for me right now. And it's so hard when things aren't going how you envisioned them or how you want them. And it can be really hard to just want to give up on that idea.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny about your 20s. I don't know what it is about the 20s, but you really do believe you don't have any time. Like in my 20s, I didn't really realize that there's me in my 30s, me in my 40s, me in my 50s, me in my 60s. If I'm lucky enough to live that long, I got decades to do things and get things done and evolve and grow. But for some reason in your 20s, you really think, "Oh my gosh, I have to do everything now." And you don't really have that foresight that you have so much time. And we really do ourselves a big disservice. So I would just say to anybody in their 20s, calm down. Calm down. Calm your butt down. Take a nap and overeat because your metabolism is going to slow down at some point. No, but seriously, it's like you have time. You have time. And one of the things that led to my depression in my late 20s, which happens to a lot of people, is because that's also called Saturn returns. And it's like a big shift that happens in your late 20s, where that's when people will get married or get a divorce or have a kid or change careers, or there's like a really pivotal shift into more, I think it's like more adulthood. And you start to
Hmm.
look at the world a little differently and question, what am I doing? And one of the reasons I fell into that depression is because I thought, oh my gosh, I just wasted my entire 20s working in the film industry, and I don't want to work in the film industry anymore. Then I spent 2 years running my parents' business, and I'm like, this isn't what I'm supposed to do. I'm miserable. I don't want to do this, And so I was looking at my 20s going, oh my God, you don't have a career. You have done things that are unhappy doing now, and they're not going to be a part of your career. You broke up with your boyfriend. I don't know why we think by the time we're like 28, we should be married, we should own a home, we should have kids, we should have our career path. And I, I think back in the day, people did that, like way back in the day, like our parents' generation.
Hmm.
But that's just not us.
Yeah, we have to feel like we have to have everything figured out by that point. So I would love to know what advice or what take you have on feeling like you need to have everything figured out, because you've had so many, like, you're an entrepreneur of many things. You have so many different business ideas and directions. And so what kind of can you say about figuring out what you want to do with your life?
You know, and I'm sure you've heard it before, but the best way to figure out what you want to do is to figure out what you don't want to do. Like it's a process of elimination. And because of that thing that we do in our 20s where we think we don't have any time, I made myself feel so bad about what working hard, trying out different industries, having crazy adventures, meeting a ton of people. I mean, the entertainment industry was such an adventure. I learned so much. I grew some really tough skin. I saw how people operated, like the highest echelons of entertainment. I mean, hello, look at the value there. Just because I didn't want maybe to be a producer anymore, I wanted to do
Mm-hmm.
other things, doesn't mean that that wasn't valuable. That was so valuable. And it was also valuable going, I don't want to be around all of these egos. I found out that, I'm an empath. I'm sensitive. It's not good for me to be around all this narcissism. Like, that's probably not healthy for me. That's a really good thing to learn in your 20s. Also, then trying to take over my parents' business. My dad was from Italy. He was an immigrant. So there was this pressure I felt on me to take over his legacy. And it's like, that was amazing that I took over a restaurant business for a couple of years. That has made me a much better entrepreneur in my with my own stuff. There is
Mm-hmm.
nothing wasted. There is nothing wasted in your experiences. Just because you don't see how it leads to something right at this moment doesn't mean it's not gonna serve you in some way later on. And so I would just say also there is this thing, and you still do this when you get older too. It's like, here's what you want and here you are, and you want to go just like yoop, right? You want to go
Mm-hmm.
directly to it. And
Mm-hmm.
life is like a labyrinth. And it takes you here and zigzag back here and then zigzag back here. And then you go, oh, you're all over the labyrinth again. And then you got to, it takes you in all these twists and turns. And what you realize is that this that you really wanted in the center, what you were going after, isn't really the goal. All the zigzags, all the stuff around it was everything that you also needed to get the thing in the center that you were after. It was
Wow,
like,
I love that.
exactly. So when you're in your 20s, the best thing that you can do is just experiment, figure out who you are, go after your passions fearlessly. You have, it's so funny because I feel like this is such an old person thing to say to people, but I remember people saying this to me when I was in my 20s to be like, oh my God, you have so much energy, use it. Because it's true. I mean, you hear people like that are in their 30s, they're like, "Oh, I'm in bed by 10 and I don't go out in my high heels anymore. I bring my flip-flops and then I switch into my high heels." And where when you're in your 20s, you could wear your high heels for like 2 days partying. Um, your energy, you do get more tired. So just use that energy and
Mm-hmm.
experience, explore, and be. I think if people in their 20s could start doing this thing, okay, if they could start going, okay, my life isn't over when I turn 30. There's lots of life. And I think you're starting to see that now with women. You're starting to
Mm-hmm.
see them doing cool things in their 70s and in their 60s and their 50s and their 40s and and so you're like, okay, I have a lot of time. I think the best thing I could do right now while I'm in my 20s is figure out who I am and what I want to do here. And just experiment and connect with yourself. And just look at your life as like one big, beautiful adventure and experiment. And stop putting the pressure on yourself.
I think that's so great. And I also would love to hear your thoughts on like failure for that because I feel like that's another big struggle is just worrying about failing and you could see a lot of this stuff that you've done like not doing your parents' business like you could see that as a failure. And so I would love to just know how you view failure and also how you're able to approach things fearlessly because a lot of the fear comes from the fear of failing.
You're brilliant. That's a brilliant question. I freaking love this question. Okay. So when I was in my late 20s and I did hit that depression, again, one of the reasons was because I felt like a failure, because I felt like I worked in the film industry. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm unhappy, failure. I don't want to take over my parents' restaurant. Don't want to do that. I'm a failure. I don't, just it. I felt like a big failure. I was like all about that. Now, I don't even think failure exists. And there's the key right there to becoming fearless. And I'll tell you why I don't think failure exists. Like everything, failure is like a construct. It's a perspective. Okay? And it's a perspective that's a half truth. It's not the failure is not a full truth, it's a half truth. I don't believe in failure. I believe in making mistakes. Failure, I don't believe in it because if you tried something new and let's say it didn't work out the way you wanted it to, but you learned a lot, you grew, you figured something out about yourself and about the thing you were trying to do. That's called learning. That's not called failing. What happened was what you wanted to happen from it didn't meet your expectations. So like there are a lot of things that I've done that did not meet my expectations. I actually say I have so high expectations. Nothing I ever did met my expectations except the book. The book, I did everything different with that because I was more evolved. I had worked on myself a lot. And I said, everything I want to do with this book is going to be inspired. It's not going to be within the mental constructs of failure, success, good, bad. It's going to be I want to connect with the higher power. I want to be in the zone. I want to let it flow out of me. I want this to help so many women and share my experiences, and that's what I'm doing. So in every single way, this book went crazier than my expectations were here, and it's up here what happened with this.
Wow.
um yeah, it's crazy. But in the past, like my yoga wear line, I thought that was going to make me a multi-millionaire, and I thought it was going to be in all the stores, and I would have my own stores and all the things. What It was amazing. I started it from part-time job money. I made a good living with it. I traveled the world and wrote my book off of the money from the yoga wear line I created. Now the yoga wear line can't support me anymore because so much competition entered the market and everything, and things changed because I started this like a decade ago when not everyone was making yoga clothes. So I could say, oh, I'm a failure. I'm a failure because I was expecting it to set me up for life and it didn't. So I'm a failure. But is that the truth? Am I really a failure? Let's see. It supported me for a while. I got to travel the world with it. I learned so much about the industry. I met so many interesting people. I had so many fun, exciting, random things happen because of it. How is that a failure?
I
How am
love
I a
that.
failure of that?
Yeah, that's so good. I want to know, is there a point when you're pursuing something and you're still like passionate about it, but you can feel it kind of fizzling out? Is there a point when you feel like you're like, okay, I need to put my energy into something else now? Does that kind of come from burnout or?
Burnout, I think, happens when you're dragging yourself. And I watched this lady who's a big self-help lady. She's quite a bit older than me, and she was talking, and she's great, love her, and a lot of people follow her and listen to her. and she was talking about how you have to push yourself. But I think because she's older, it's kind of like Martha Stewart-esque, like push yourself, push yourself, push. It doesn't matter if you're miserable, push yourself, you know? And I used to be like that because that was the mentality then. Push yourself, push yourself, push yourself outside of your comfort zone, push yourself. You have to go outside of your comfort zone to get things done, to experience things. Just how you put yourself outside of your comfort zone to come and meet a total stranger in Telluride, and then look, you had like an amazing day that you'll remember for the rest of your life. And then we did it in Aspen, like, you know, a year later. So it was a great thing because you pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone. But that was like a gentle push, you know? It was like you pushed yourself, but you weren't dragging yourself. You were excited and scared and nervous, but there was still excitement there. It wasn't, I think burnout comes when you're dragging, when nothing in you is aligned with what you're doing. And you're like, and then that's when like you get miserable and it gets very monotonous and all of that. If there's a genuine excitement in you and you might be tired, you might have put too much on it, you might be putting too much attachment on it. So the attachment to it is making you feel that burnt out kind of thing. That's when you need to go do something that gives you joy. I don't know why it's so funny. At certain moments, like, it's so funny. I'm like, this happens to me on the podcast. There'll be balloons popping up or fire, and I don't know. It's like the AI knows I'm saying something really good, and so they're like balloons, and because they always come at like really good moments.
Yeah, so if you're watching on YouTube, balloons just came up on Giovanna's screen, and so that's why we got sidetracked.
So, I think it's really hard, especially like with people like you and me, because we're both ambitious and we both are creators and we constantly want to create and be doing things. Like I see you all the time. You're like covered in glitter. You're over here. You're over there. You're doing all stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just love her. She's such a creator, and I'm sure she always thinks she's not doing enough when she's doing
Yeah,
a lot. You know, and
always.
yeah, and so it's that thinking I'm not doing enough when you're doing a lot that destroys the excitement and joy because you're
Yeah.
nagging yourself. You gotta stop that.
Yeah.
Some days it's okay just to be a couch potato. Like, I need one
That's so
day.
good to hear. Yeah.
I need one day a week. Sometimes it's two. But where I just am on my couch and I'm
Yeah.
watching time,
Yeah.
getting caught up on all my Lifetime thrillers.
Okay. So I want to hear a little bit about your journey because I know like some of the timeline. So maybe you can fill it in. I want to know like about your producer passion. Was that straight out of college? And then when did like your leggings and you started like a blog too,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
And then
mhm.
also traveling, like when you started traveling the world. So kind of touch on those.
Okay. So, during college, I got my real estate license. And when I graduated, I started working in real estate. So we can add that to another thing that I tried.
Okay.
I told you the 20s is for trying things. Don't feel bad if it doesn't work out. It's okay. Just keep trying things. Um, the real estate market crashed right when I started working in real estate. And I'm like, okay, well, no one's gonna already, probably not many people are gonna sell their multi-million dollar home with a 21-year-old, let alone market crashing. So
Mm.
so I got out of real estate, and that's when I started working in the film industry, the TV and film industry. My first job was I was a production assistant on an ABC reality TV show. And after 3 days, the lady Tracy, like she saw I was like hardworking and I cared a lot. So she asked me, "Do you want to be my post production coordinator?" I had no idea what a post production coordinator was. And this is like after 3 days of working there as a production assistant, getting everybody lunch. And now she's asking me to be her post-production coordinator. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And so anyway, I did that for like 6 months until the project ended because it was a reality TV show. I learned a lot about post-production. Then I went and I worked for a really big talent manager who represented people like Sally Field, Kevin Kline, a lot of like older, like golden celebrities. And so I worked for her for a year. Then she had a client who was directing a big film. So then I went to go work on that film, and I was his assistant on that huge project. So I did a lot in the. I was there for quite a few years, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of experiences, and it was a great way to really get into the LA community because, especially then, that was even before tech was really huge. So the film industry really ran this town. Now you have more finance, you have more tech, you have like other things, but back then it was like entertainment is where it's at. And so
Mm.
met so many people, went to all the film festivals, so much fun. Then I went and I tried taking over my parents' restaurant. And I was home for 2 years, and I actually got a very serious boyfriend. We dated for 2 years. I think he was pretty much on the verge of like proposing to me. And I was 27, and I just was like, "Oh my God, this is my life now." Like the restaurant that I grew up in a smaller town, and which there's money there. There was money there. Like there would have been consistent money, right? So that would have been of if I wasn't as fearless as I am, that would have been a very secure thing to say, okay, I'm doing this. And then I have my, I have my business, and then he was lovely. He was a great guy too. He was a really great guy. I actually, I don't regret breaking up with him because God, my life's been amazing, and I've had so many amazing years. I think my life and my adventures is for me is way better than having a guy. Some people are
Yeah.
relationship people, and I totally get that, and they're all about their relationship, and it works, and it's great. And this is why actually I think my book is so great. Because I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you the way to live your life. I'm saying I'll help you figure out who you are and what your true nature is. So then you can live that fearlessly and do what you really want and not be on a default setting of I'm doing this because I was scared.
Yeah.
So in that moment I was really fearless because I broke up with him. I left the money in the restaurant. I came back to LA, broke, no boyfriend, didn't know what I was gonna do, didn't really know who I was. Depression. Then the depression hit. Then once I was able to get out of that, and I felt better, I go, okay, now who am I and why am I here? And then that's when I came up with Confused Girl in the City, the vlog I did, which every week I would do a video on YouTube, and I would do something that I've never done before. I would do something new. Because I was
Oh,
trying,
really?
yeah.
Every week you did something new to push yourself outside your comfort zone. So do you feel like that's how you overcame fear basically and failure was by trying something new every week?
100%.
Can you give me some examples of stuff you would do? I need to
Oh,
go and find this vlog.
oh, yeah, I will send it to you. It's a little cringe. I watched it the other day. I'm like, cringe, because I'm like, actually, because I mean, editing, video editing, all this stuff has come so far. I mean, this was like 12 years ago. I mean, it's just like a
Mhm.
lifetime in those 12 years of editing and the way we do things. But I have to say, I was looking and I was like, oh my gosh, I am so proud of myself. I am so proud of myself for trying and doing that. Like,
Yeah.
thank you, little me. Like, thank you for doing that. Because, you really put yourself out there. And oh, were you gonna say something?
I was gonna ask you just how you felt in the moment when you were creating the vlog. Were you like unsure or, I mean, confused probably, but
Oh, I was so confused that I was, well, first what happened was I was like, okay, I knew I wanted to create like a vlog and I wanted to call it Confused Girl in the City, and I bought the domain name. And then I had this guy friend who was a film editor, he edit videos. He had a really great YouTube channel. So I went to his house and he showed me how to edit on iMovie. And he showed me. He goes, "This is how you film. This is how you edit. This is how you do everything." Because again, we didn't have this stuff on our phones at the time. It was it's very
mm-hmm.
different, very different. So I was like, okay. And then I thought, okay, the best thing for me to do is just sit down at home, film this, and then I'll chop it up and edit it and do that. And so I was so nervous, even sitting here by myself in my apartment, no one around, filming myself. I was so nervous that I made myself like a vodka soda. I literally was like, this confused girl has to drink a little bit for this, you know?
Yeah.
It was so, now people could never imagine me being intimidated about being
Oh
on,
no.
or I mean, people would never imagine that now. But
Yeah.
but yeah, there was a time when I was very scared. Even just I was scared to do it for myself. Like not even anybody around, but just for me. And
Mm-hmm.
so and then it was like I did the first one, which is just like telling everybody, I'm confused. I'm going to try one new thing every week, try to figure out. Well, see how ambitious I am? I said two new things every week, but then it just went to one because I'm like, one's enough. Geez, there you go with
Mm-hmm.
the I'm not doing enough kind of BS, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the second episode was me doing my first new thing. I went bungee jumping.
Oh wow. Your first thing you jumped right in.
Literally. I'm like, wow, this is so symbolic. And I wasn't even trying to be. My roommate was going bungee jumping. He asked me to go. I was like, oh, I needed to do one new thing this week. So great, done. I don't even have to think about it. I'm going. And then,
Oh.
oh my gosh. And then my friend had a dinner party the night before. And it was so much fun, that dinner party. I ended up staying out to like 4 a.m., came back, got 2 hours of sleep, and then it was like woke up. I was still like a little drunk when I woke up, and my roommate's like, "We gotta go. It's 5 a.m. We gotta go. We're going bungee jumping." I'm like, "Oh my
Oh
god!"
no.
Okay. Again, something I couldn't do now that I could, like, you could do that in your 20s. I would not be able to handle that now. That would never happen. But so went bungee jumping, and what I realized from that is that I am not an adrenaline junkie. I I I did not like bungee jumping, never want to do it again. But I'm like, if I can jump off of a bridge called the Bridge to Nowhere, hungover, I could do anything.
That's
So,
crazy that you did that and you don't even like adrenaline, but that's also awesome how you were able to learn that about yourself. Like your first week and you already discovered so much about yourself by trying something new.
right? By just like just by doing it, just going, okay, I'm going to go outside my comfort zone. I'm going to go along with this. Let's do it. And it was so symbolic. And that's the crazy thing. When you go on this journey of self discovery, and when you are really genuinely trying to figure out who you are and what you want to do here, and you're asking the higher powers, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, the spirit guides, the angels, whatever, the divine energy, just I really want to find out who I am and why I'm here, and please help me. It's crazy when they I don't know, when they hear that, they're like, and then they start just like dropping things to you. And it doesn't mean everything's going to be great. It doesn't mean there's not going to be hard times. It doesn't mean that you're going to get everything you want like in a second. It might take a long time. I mean, I've been on this journey for a decade, but amazing, cool things. Like even just talking about the bungee thing, that just happened. Because I think that was me going, I'm committed to this, and then them just dropping an opportunity that I could talk about a decade later and write about in my book about how the first thing I did was bungee jumping and what that meant for me. It's like jumping off
Wow.
into a new you.
Oh,
Oh no. Oh, we
okay.
got,
Wait, are we back?
we're back. We're
Okay.
back.
Froze for a second. Okay. We're good. Okay. Were there ever any weeks doing that where you just didn't want to, where you just felt really kind of stuck and didn't want to push yourself to get out and do something new? Was it a strict thing, like you had to do something every week and post
I was
about it?
strict. I was strict. I was because I am strict with myself. That's how I accomplish things. But I'm also gentle. I'm disciplined, but I'm gentle. So if I like one time like I was exercising almost every day at that point anyway. So if I didn't want to do anything really big, I'd be like, okay, I've never taken a boxing class, like a real pro boxing class, like a pro boxer. I'm gonna go do that. I'm like, that's my exercise anyway. So it didn't feel
Okay.
even like a push. It was just, I'm going to go exercise in a different way. And I actually had so much fun. That was really, really fun. And and sure, I'm sure now looking back, there were weeks that I missed and that was fine. But when I say I'm going to do something, I really do it. Like I show up for myself and for other people. And I will say this to all the 20 something year olds out there. Flakiness is not cool. Saying you're going to do something and not doing it is not cool. And I just see so much flakiness now in our society. And I think it's because maybe of the technology, just we feel we don't have to show up for ourselves and for other people. And when you're a person that shows up, like you're going to get credit for that because a lot of people don't. And when you show up for yourself, good things are going to happen. So if you can't do something or you don't want to do something, just be honest about it. Don't do this people pleasing thing so you can sound good and then not show up later because you're going to look worse.
Yeah.
I don't like the flakiness that's happening. And it's happening with all age groups. But I'm like,
How,
stop it.
yeah. And I do feel like social media is a big part of that and just smartphones and so many distractions. Yeah, just not holding yourself accountable. So I love that. But how was the vlogging part of that? Was that part like harder or easier? Was the dedication to posting it? Were you uploading it to like YouTube or?
Yeah, I would upload to YouTube and then my blog.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so it'd be like YouTube, my blog, and at that time I had a Tumblr. Remember Tumblr?
Mm,
Don't remember Tumblr?
I mean,
Oh my God.
I've heard of it, yes.
It
I've
was okay.
never.
Okay, you've heard of it. You've heard of it.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Oh, okay. So I had like a Tumblr and then
Is that, wait, is it like Pinterest or is it,
um kind of it's more like it was like a blogging site.
oh,
You know
blogging.
who
Okay.
really used that was who's like celebrity was Kylie Jenner. She had a Tumblr that everybody
Oh,
watched and it was like a
okay.
blog, like your own blog, your Tumblr. I had a Tumblr, I had Instagram, and so but I wouldn't post my videos. Would I post them every week? I forget now. But it was more YouTube and my blog.
Okay. But the point was you were just doing it for yourself and it helped you to find yourself and who you are.
Yeah, and I actually wrote on a little post-it, this is a gift I'm giving myself, and I put it on my computer because I wanted to be reminded that we're not doing this to be famous. We're not doing this try to make it big. We're not doing this to make money. This is a gift I'm giving myself. I am worthy enough of doing something good for myself. This does not have to be something that I can like, that I have to take and show, here, world, I'm good enough. I created this, so I'm good enough. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to say, I am doing this as a gift to myself, and hopefully it can help a lot of people as well. That was the whole point.
I really love that because I know that I've definitely struggled with my self worth in social media and feeling like I need to post everything I do. And like, if I don't share it, then it's almost like not even worth it. And I had to do a lot to overcome that. And so that's really awesome that you just did it for yourself.
Yeah, I think, if people can, and this is why I think this book is so important, because we're in a very confusing times, and it's even going to get more confusing with the AI and everything. So if people can go inward and figure out who they are and go from that place, not, I'm going to do that because she did that. I'm going to talk like this because they talk like this. I'm going to like that because they like that. And it could be anything. It could be like, I want to be goth because, like, we're different. And it's like, you don't have to be goth to be different. You're already different. We're all different. And if you like goth, then great, go do the goth thing. But it's you don't have to do something to make a point that you're different. You already are unique and different. And it's just a matter of accessing that and getting in touch with it and then leading your life with that. And if you lead your life with that and you have a secure amount of peace and contentment in your being, you're gonna have a good life. You're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna enjoy it, even if you don't make millions, or you do, or you get married, or you don't get married. Like, whatever happens, you're gonna enjoy the ride.
Yeah. So from doing all those new things, did you get like really cool opportunities and meet people?
Oh yeah. I even had this local TV show in San Diego call me and be like, we want
Oh,
to have you on. And I would do girl in the confused girl in the street videos, and I'd ask people questions. And oh yeah, I did that. I was going to San Diego every week and filming that. And then, oh my gosh, so many opportunities. I mean, my leggings also ended up in the fashion district in one of their I forget what it was called, something Mart, fashion, no, Mart. Anyway, it was like the most iconic building downtown LA for this stuff. And it's one of those places where buyers and people walk through to look at the designers and the new designers and to see if they want to make an order. So that was not easy to get in there, and I was able to get in there. And I mean, just
wow.
yeah, it's been incredible, really. It's been incredible.
So when did you start traveling? When did all that start?
Okay, so I started traveling. So when I was doing the blog, I was doing my activewear. And I had this friend who I was really envious of, the way she would just leave by herself and come back and have all these crazy adventurous stories. And I was so envious. And I'm like, well, Giovanna, if you're envious, that means that it's something you want to do. Because I wasn't envious of, like, oh, my friend who got married and had kids. I was envious of the girl that was traveling the world by herself. But that's a good envy. That's a good way to use envy and jealousy. Because
Hmm.
it's a natural feeling. Okay. So it's nothing to shame yourself if you feel jealous or envious of someone. It's actually a signal to yourself that's something you want. Now, how do you get that? Now, you don't want to. Jealousy actually isn't a bad thing. It's bad when you hate somebody because of it. When you
Hmm.
want to take something from them or bring them down. But actually, if you look at someone that has something, you're like, I want that. That's just you understanding yourself better. So she helped me realize that. Like, thank God she was in my life and I was envious of her because I was like, well, I guess I need to do this. And again, very scary at first. I did my first solo trip was to Europe because I'm pretty comfortable with Europe. And it was the first time, I mean, I had flown alone and stuff, but it's the first time I ever went somewhere and was going to be traveling to all these different cities, like totally by myself, without a friend, without a boyfriend, without family, just totally by myself. And it's such a funny thing because at first you go, well, what, I mean, who do I talk to? What am I going to do? I mean, how is it going to be? And there's a lot of fear, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Get lonely? Am I going to get sad? Like all these things. So I got really nervous the night before. I had like pains in my stomach, like butterflies in my stomach about traveling alone. And I asked my friend, I'm like, am I doing the right thing? And she's like, yes, yes, you can do it. And then she gave me, oh my God, this was so funny and so awful of her. She gave me a rape whistle. She's like, here, if anybody tries to rape you, you just blow. And I was like, oh my God, don't scare me. This is not helping. You're scaring me. And she's like, no, you need it for protection. And I was like, oh my God. And I did. I wore my rape whistle underneath my sweater. But I never had to use it, so we're okay. But what was so cool is, after a couple of days of being on my own, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got this. I can do this. Then I started meeting people, and every new city was like a new energy, new people, new food, new adventure. I mean, it was just incredible. And then I just got hit with the solo travel bug. Then I wanted to do it on steroids. It's like when I love something, oh, I love it. I want it.
Mm-hmm.
I have fallen in love with solo traveling and I want it all the time. So
You really do learn a lot. I've only taken like a couple trips by myself and nowhere very far, like 8 hours. And I always just come back just feeling so much refreshed and like I learned so much in that time because you overcome challenges that you didn't think that you could.
yes. And I think it really adds to your inner confidence. Because I remember after living on my own for a couple of years in different countries, when I came back, this guy's like, are you a multimillionaire? I'm like, no, not yet. Not yet. Not yet. And he's like, God, you're so confident. And I'm like, that's really interesting that's such like a like ambitious dude thing to say. Oh, you must be really confident because you have a lot of money. But actually some of the most insecure people are the ones that have a ton of money. So, and I was like, wow, my confidence is not correlated to how much is in my bank account. But thank you. Um,
Wow.
but for me, it was like, it gave me such an inner confidence to know I can take care of myself in any situation.
Yeah.
I can be in a foreign country with a different language, with a different currency, everything. And if I'm lost, I know how to talk to people. I can go up to people. I can figure it out. I can ask for help. I can sort out my primal needs.
Have you always been good at talking to people, or is that something that you developed in your traveling and doing all of these things? I mean, I know that that definitely helped with it, but is that something you've always been able to do?
I think so. I mean, that's be like, I think I came out of the womb a bit outgoing. I just think that that's my character. But I do get, social anxiety sometimes, and I'll have like a weird, awkward moment and I'll feel dumb about it. I still get all of that stuff. And that happens to me when I'm tired or hormonal,
Mm.
like before my period, during my period, after my period. But like when I'm
Mm-hmm.
ovulating or about to ovulate, like I'll have some of that um awkwardness in my body. And it was weird because I used to shame myself, and I'm sure some people can really relate to this. I used to shame myself because people are used to me being outgoing and kind of on it. And then to see me fidgety or awkward or nervous or something, I felt like I wasn't meeting their expectation of me. And then that would make me feel really bad. Like that would actually
Mm-hmm.
make me feel shame.
Yeah.
And and that was my people pleasing, which again, I have tools for people pleasing in the book and all of that. But I that was so I get what that feels like. I know, I understand that. And it still happens once in a while, like I said, when I'm feeling just out of my skin. But I am outgoing.
That was one thing that stood out to me a lot when I met you was your ability to speak to people, and I kind of said this earlier. You draw people to you. Like it's like whenever I was with her, everyone we were around wanted to talk to her. Anywhere we went, she would make friends and talk to people, and that inspired me more than anyone because I love that feeling. I love talking with people and I love making connections, but as somebody who's very shy, I always felt like that was something I couldn't do. Like I tried to just give people their space and just do my own thing, and you really opened my mind to making connections with the people around you, and people are just drawn to you because you have this energy about you and they just want to come and talk to you. And so that was something that really inspired me to just try and interact with the people around you no matter where you go, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
No, it's so true. And you're so sweet. And you left me the sweetest message a while ago. You left me
Yeah.
a sweet message. You're like, I went up to this person and I asked them because I was like, what would Giovanna do? What would
Yeah.
Giovanna do in this situation? So I went and I did this and and I am so proud of you, Sue, because you're one of those people that, you're so vulnerable and honest about your I wouldn't even say it honestly. I wouldn't even say it's weaknesses, but just kind of like your character. Like, oh, I'm a little shy. I get a little, I'm a little nervous. I'm a little, you're just so vulnerable and you're so open. And then you will see something that somebody else is doing that works, and you'll go, you know what? I'm gonna try that. And honestly, I talk about that in my book, in my chapter about comparisons, is how to, instead of compare yourself to people and make yourself feel less than, because you are not less than. That's again not the truth. They might be better at that one thing, but you could be better in a lot of other things. So that's not real. Again, like failure, not real. But a good way to use comparison is to go, oh, look at Giovanna's outgoing. This, she can kind of, okay, let's see how I could maybe incorporate that in my life that aids me. You
That's so
know,
true.
it's,
Hmm.
and, you're so good because you're not like trying to be anybody but you. You're very authentically. You're not like, I'm going to just be a copycat of somebody else. You're not like that. You're just like, oh, picking up things like a little sponge. It's brilliant and I appreciate.
So when did you start collaborating with these hotels and kind of enter that part of your traveling?
Well, when I got hit by the travel love bug, I thought, okay, well, I don't have enough money to cover all of this. And, I am a lady of luxury. I like a good five-star hotel. And so I was like, well, I have this Instagram. I have, I want to travel more. I'm going to start doing like travel blogging. And this was again before everybody else was doing it. So I would get so many collaborations all over the world. And, it was so cool. Again, this is so interesting. I would stay at a five-star hotel for like 2 to 4 nights. Sometimes I would even get 4 nights, which was like, yes. And they treat you so well, and it's like free breakfast. And oh my God, some of these hotels did really incredible things, like a free massage, gifts. I mean, some of them were just really fantastic. Um, but it's like I would stay at this, I'd be like in luxury for a few days. Then I'd go to a hostel because I'm like, okay, because hotels are so expensive to stay at.
Uh-huh.
And I'm one person. I have nobody sharing the cost of this with me. So I would get, oh, there's only like I think two times I stayed in a hostel where I was in like a dorm thing, and that was only because everything was booked and they didn't have any private rooms. But I always get a private room in a hostel. I don't mind sharing a bathroom, but like I need my sleep and I'm sensitive sleeper, so I need my own private room. But even that, like, so much less expensive than hotels. And so I'd be at the five-star hotel for a couple days and I would just be at the hotel. I wasn't trying to sightsee and do that. I was like, I'm just enjoying this place. I'm going to just really love it. Then I'd go to the hostel and you meet a bunch of people because a bunch of people travel solo. And it's so cool because even people who like are doctors, lawyers, making really good money, they stay at the hostel to meet people. They
Oh,
don't, yeah, they don't stay at the more expensive hotels because they're like, I wouldn't meet anybody there. So they're at the hostel too, just to, because the hostels are great. They put together activities and events and they'll be like, okay, here, we're going to do a pub crawl around Prague tonight, or we're going to do, we're going to this bar tonight, or we're going to go see this tomorrow. So then now you're with people and you're just meeting a bunch of people. And so I loved doing that so much. I mean, I love it. It's like, it was
mm-hmm.
so much fun to have two totally opposite experiences.
Yeah. What would you usually give these hotels and resorts in exchange for staying with them?
So I would do like a photo shoot. So, like, I'd contact photographers, like I contacted you because you're an amazing photographer, and do a photo shoot at the hotel, like lifestyle stuff. And then I would, I would give them the professional photos to use. And then I would also do posts on my Instagram and social media. And then I would also write a blog post for them,
Okay.
do like a really nice blog post
Mm-hmm.
for them. Yeah, so that's that. But see, for the hotels, it's if you have good quality stuff and you have a good amount of followers, it's worth it for them, especially when it's not high season. They have some availability, or it's a new hotel, it's just opening up. They want to get eyes on it. And then they don't have to, it's expensive to pay for a photographer, a professional photographer, and a model, and this and that. And then, and then someone comes in and it's just like, hey, listen, treat me like a princess, give me a free stay. I will do that for you. And the blogs help their SEO. So it's beneficial for these companies to do that.
Yeah, when I stayed with you, or when I went, yeah, even in Aspen, when I stayed with you and when I went to be with you in Telluride, I was blown away by the way the hotel and staff treat you. Like when we were in Telluride, we had that meal and they were just bringing us dish after dish. And I had never had food like that. Like it was 5 star amazing. And I was like, you live like this? Like they treat you like you're so special, like you're royalty there. And so it was really cool to just experience that. And yeah.
And one of my favorite things to do is to have people like you, like people that are so kind and creative and sweet, like enjoy that with me. I love offering that to my friends. Like I love being
Mm-hmm.
able to have that to offer. Like, oh, come and stay with me and then, free meal and just have that really I just love it. I did it for my parents too. But my and this was so great. It was before my dad passed, and probably the one of the best days I've ever had was 4 nights at La Valencia Hotel in Cabo in Mexico. And I would say that was the best one because it was a new hotel. It was 5 star. It was huge. They had like the biggest lazy river in Cabo. And the food was incredible. We were right on the beach. They gave us a cabana every day. They treated my parents like they were the mother and father of Angelina Jolie or something. I mean, they treated my family like royalty. And that, especially because my father was so sick, that to me was just, I was just like, thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Like for this, like I wanted my parents to have that experience. And my dad was so happy. Oh my God, he loved that was like one of his favorite trips ever.
I love
Because
that. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I know. I love getting to share with people what I'm doing too. It's so fun. So,
I know it's so good. And sometimes I do it alone and I enjoy that too. And I'm treating myself.
yeah.
But it is nice when I get to spread the wealth.
Yeah. Okay, one more question for you. How do
Yes.
you deal with imposter syndrome or feeling like you're underqualified? Like when you go out and do something new or get a new opportunity, do you ever feel like imposter syndrome?
I know a lot of people do, and I actually do discuss this in my book and give you like tips and tools for imposter syndrome. I would say for myself, have, I really, I used to have imposter syndrome before I did the inner work. The inner
Mm-hmm.
work, with the inner work, you, you're less likely to have it. You're much less likely. Like, I do not feel like an imposter right now. Granted, I don't know how I'm going to feel. Let's say my book blows up and it gets turned into a TV show and I'm writing all these other books and I'm speaking at speaking engagements and everything. That could creep up because just
Mm-hmm.
because we're not feeling it now doesn't mean we won't feel it later. The thing is with the imposter syndrome, it's a inauthenticity within there because
Yeah.
you feel like okay, I feel like I need to be more than I am because other people are thinking of me like I'm this and I'm actually like this. And if you're really being authentic and genuine, that's enough. Oh my God, look,
Good
see?
job.
Oh my God. Okay, for everyone, the screen just gave me a thumbs up. I don't know why it does this, but isn't that crazy? I just said that and it gave me a thumbs up.
That's funny.
It does this.
It's so random. Wait, I wonder. Oh, I don't know.
I didn't even lift my thumb. Oh my God, I swear to God, it's like the angels coming through the. Maybe somebody techie
Encouraging
will,
you.
maybe somebody techie who's listening to this will write us and be like, okay,
Yeah.
guys, Giovanna, your settings are blah, 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 blah. It's not
Yeah.
the, um, but it's a imposter syndrome comes when you're feeling like other people think that you're better than you are. That's
Mm-hmm.
when you need to ground and meditate and do yoga and connect with yourself and be like, I'm not perfect, but I am enough.
Yes.
And if you can make your peace with that, then the imposter syndrome will go away.
That is so good. You have so many amazing points. I know this will be really helpful for anyone, whether you're in your 20s or not, just struggling with these things that come up, facing your fears and finding yourself. I could honestly talk with you forever. So,
No.
thank you so much for being on my podcast. And before we end, can you tell people where they can find you and your book?
Oh, yes. So my book is called Confused Girl, Find Your Peace in the Chaos. And you can find it on Amazon. You can also go to my website, confusedgirlinthecity.com, and you'll see all the pre-order book links. And if you pre-order, and email me a screenshot of your order, which you can email me from my website, you'll enter to win $100 giveaway from my store. So
Oh,
offering that to your listeners, Miss Sue. And then here's my book. So cute.
it's so cute. I do love the cover design. It's very
Oh no.
cute.
So good. And it will come in like a hardcover. This is just the advanced copies, the paperback. And then also get me on Instagram and say hello at Confused Girl LA.
Yay. Okay, thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.